Alright, hi everybody. Today we're going to do our lesson on fluency. And before we start, I want to explain what fluency is. Fluency is your ability to read a passage or a text accurately, with an appropriate speed, and with proper expression. Okay? So that means that it's not about how fast I read. So being a fluent reader does not mean reading quickly. It means reading at the appropriate speed so that the words that you're saying can connect with your brain. The reason why we practice fluency is because fluency helps your understanding or your comprehension. I know some of us are a little nervous about reading out loud, but the better I can improve my fluency, or the higher that I can increase my fluency, actually the more that I will understand when I read a passage. Okay? Also, expression means stopping at the appropriate places. So taking a pause when there's a comma, taking a pause when there is a period or a punctuation at the end. Expression also means that my voice goes up and down. In other words, when I read, I don't want it just to be flat. And I will show you what I mean about that in a few minutes. This is especially true when I'm reading dialogue or what somebody says. When you read a passage, your voice changes. If you hear something like on a CD or a tape, the reader's voice changes. So again, why fluency is important is it's because your increase in fluency will help you increase your understanding of a passage. The more you understand, the better reader you are, you'll want to read more, and also the better that you'll do on a test. So to begin, I'm going to read maybe 2 sections. You'll notice in this reading that there's numbers by each paragraph. So I'm going to model for you how hopefully a fairly fluent reader reads out loud so that you can hear what I do. We'll talk a little bit about it after I read, okay? The title of this reading, Amanda Fielding, Woman with a Hole in Her Head. Amanda Fielding is a thin, dark-haired English woman who looks perfectly normal until you spot the hole in her head. Fielding doesn't mind having people stare at it. She isn't embarrassed or ashamed. In fact, she's proud of the hole. She thinks the world would be a happier place if more people drilled holes through their skulls. All right, what did you notice about how I read this passage?
Stopped at all the punctuation marks.
I stopped at all the punctuation marks. What else, Anita? Did you notice?
You got a little enthusiasm in the word,
Okay, so my voice kind of went up and down. All right. What else? Anything?
And you took a breathe.
I took a breath. When did I take a breath?
At
the punctuation?
Yeah.
Okay, so at a period or at a comma. I didn't read particularly fast, but I don't think it was too slow. Was it too slow?
You took your time.
It took a little bit of my time so that I can understand. Okay, I'm going to read one more paragraph. Fielding is not the first person to subscribe to this belief. Trepanation, or the process of cutting an opening in the skull and removing part of the bone, is a practice that's been around for centuries. Sometimes trepanning is done for medical reasons, usually to relieve pressure on the brain after a skull fracture. But at other times, it is performed for spiritual or magical purposes. In the Kasai tribe of Western Kenya, for instance, trepanning is thought to cure headaches and mental illness. Okay. So again, maybe you noticed how I stopped, how I took some breaths. Another thing that I did is I read things kind of like in chunks. In other words, I didn't read one word at a time. I grouped some of my words together because they go together and that makes sense in my brain. What what I want to do is go back and I want to have you read just the first paragraph. So we're going to go around and we're going to hear this first paragraph as many times as there are people. But I want you to practice, and I'll help you with words that you stumble over. And remember, I get to be the teacher and you're the observer, because if we all correct each other, it's confusing. And then we're going to go back and read the whole story, okay? So Jamie, would you start, please?
The ancient Romans.
We're going to start with this first paragraph. That's okay. Just right here. Yep.
Amanda Fielding is a thin, dark-haired Englishwoman who looks perfectly normal until you spot the hole in her head. Fielding does not mind having people stare at it. She isn't embarrassed or ashamed. In fact, she is proud of the hole. She thinks the world would be a happier place if more people drilled holes through their skulls.
Good. What I noticed, Jamie, is you stopped at the periods, you stopped at the punctuation, you grouped your words together, so it was easy to listen to you read, and I'm guessing it was easy for you to read because you kind of calmed yourself down. Good for you. You did a nice job. Lashaya, you try that first paragraph.
Amanda Fielding is a thin, dark-haired English woman who looks perfectly normal until you spot the hole in her head. Fielding doesn't mind having people stare at it. She isn't embarrassed or ashamed. In fact, she's proud of the hole. She thinks the world would be a happier place for more people if more people drill holes through their skull.
Good. Nice job. And of course, when we read, I do it too, our brains work a little faster than our mouths. So we all stumble over words. That's okay. You went back and corrected yourself, and you read really well. Again, you stopped at the punctuation, your voice went up and down, you grouped your words really nicely.